one here, and we'll go in a little ways and do another. Okay. So how long does it take to get an inch of water in the soil in Kansas?
Depends on the soil.
Depends on so many things, doesn't it? Right. So it's an inexpensive way to take a look at infiltration, and we start to understand what we do and don't have. Okay. And so we're gonna do one here, and we'll do one just a little further over. We got a lot more cover right here. We got a lot less over there. So we'll do a couple. So over the years, if I was going to do this for USDA and it was going to get printed, I would do 5, right? I'd put them in the row, I'd put them between the rows, I would spread 5 of them around, and then I would throw out the high and the low and average the remaining 3. And that might get printed, okay? So that's the way I would proceed. Now, if I was working with Waco or some other farmer, then I'm maybe going to do 1 or 2. I'm just doing a comparison on his own farm, and I'm not much for comparing one location to another. It's more about your farm. So I'd find a fence line, I'd find a pasture, I'd find the cropland, kind of get an idea. I'd put it in the notes, and then whatever changes we were working on, come back later sometime, might be a year or 2 or 3 even, and then I'd do them again. And then you start to see, you know, why you're doing these things. And then at the same time, I'd grab some soil samples. I'd grab them in the grasslands and in the cropland bowl. And then you start to see how much carbon is in the grasslands compared to your own cropland. And I think that really tells the story, because the grasslands are kind of the apex of harvesting and sequestering CO2 and maintaining it. So, okay, so real simple. I got a block of wood. I was just saying here a moment ago, in North Dakota, I just push them in by hand, but I'm going to use a block of wood and a hammer here. Okay, that wasn't too quick for you, was it? That was just North Dakota humor. Okay, so you can come on up here if you like. So we're just going to tap this in. If nothing else, it'll let us look at good ground cover, a little more bare, and maybe there's no difference. But it's always good to do more than one, right? Always good to do more than one. Okay, so I like to put them in 3 inches. That'd be the recommended depth. This is just gated pipe, gated irrigation pipe that you just cut in lengths, so you can use whatever. We bevel one end, helps immensely for it to go in. The other end's flat, that's a good end to put the block of wood on, right? Yep. And so you get it in about 3 inches. Then, here I don't feel it would be necessary to use saran wrap. If there's bare ground, I put saran wrap in first and pour the water on the saran wrap, and then you pull the saran wrap out. Otherwise, you can slake shut the pore spaces, and it kind of gives you a false reading. So if you have ground cover, fine, just pour the water right on there. And then how much water, right? So 444 mils. The typical water bottles usually 500, these regular size ones. So 444 mils, that'll give you about an inch in the container. Okay? So, how long is it going to take? Come on, come on. 1 minute?
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
I'd say 5.
5.
7.
7. All right, I like that.
Are we putting money down?
2.
Oh, yeah, there's always money on the tip, right?
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Maybe 1.
Maybe 1. Okay, so we need somebody that is willing to time it. Anyone?
I will.
Okay, and I've got ground cover, so I'm just going to pour it directly on the residue. Okay, so when I tell you go, so are you ready, sir?
Ready when you are.
Okay, go. It's always your second one that you want to measure. If we were going to record something and take a look at this for conservation planning purposes, etc., you always want to measure the second one. The first one sets the uniform table, if you will. and the second one is the one you record. Okay? So today, due to time, we're probably not going to do that much differently. So we're going to keep an eye on that one, right? I'm going to go set up another one. So,
It's gone, isn't it?
no, not yet.
Not yet.
So you still got water. When the sheen leaves, I'd call it. There's kind of like a little film. The last water leaves a little, kind of like a little sheen on the soil. When that's gone, then call it. It's doing well. It's doing well. Okay. Did you step on the spot first? Well, and that's what the reason for the multiple canisters is just what you're saying, because the tractor, the combine, whatever, step on some of these and maybe not on others. And so you're trying to use a few to dilute that impact so you don't get a false reading of really bad or really good. And so you want to have a few different canister locations. If I was going to record this, I'd get one in the row too, for sure. For sure, one in the row, as well as in between. Okay, no, we're not there yet. What's the time so far?
Minute and a half.
Minute and a half. So who had two?
We did collectively.
Collectively.
Teamwork. Bandmate.
Yeah. Well, it's always good to have a partner in crime, right? Yeah. But it's such a simple thing to do, and so is the sieving of aggregates. You know, you get a couple of sieves, and there's a procedure, and it's not hard to do. What I like about it, I don't have to write a check to anybody. This tells me a lot of information on infiltration, a lot of information on sieving and aggregate, and you can just do it yourself. You know, and it tells you some stuff.
When you did 5 in a field,
Yes, sir.
did you have, how wide a range did you have?
So if I did 5 in a field, I probably, from where this gentleman to, kind of like what we're standing right here with Tyrell, there'd probably be 5 in this general area. Yeah.
I mean, difference in
Okay.
results. How much
Okay, I'm
difference?
gonna call it. What's the time?
2 minutes, 45 seconds.
2:45. So an inch of water, 2:45. First inch, right? First inch. Okay. So now we have some more water left, right? Okay. So let's. Do we have somebody's water bottle here? Anyone have a water bottle?
Here we go.
Okay. Would that be 444?
It's close enough.
Yeah, it's really close. 500 is to the top. He's really close. Would you consider a second start?
Ready.
Okay, that's the one you would actually record. Now we're going to go over and do another. Let's come over a little ways.
So who's watching this one?
The timer can't leave, by the way.
Correct.
Okay, we'll give her a spot.
Is this the trample we're helping with? Yeah.
Okay. We got a volunteer. Go ahead. Level, you always want it kind of level.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yep. Watch your fingers. I don't want to put pressure on you, but I had that one in over there already.
Oh, you did. I think you picked a compaction spot
I
here.
We got bare ground here.
Yeah,
Okay, I think you're probably close, huh?
Okay.
You're close? Okay.
pretty close. There's a little on this edge still, but
Okay. Give him a love tap or two. Yeah,
on this
then.
side or is
yeah.
that side?
Yeah, as long as it looks kind of level. We want it to be level. Okay. So, we need some water. Did we bring in, we need a bottle of water. Does anybody have a bottle of water? There's some in that cardboard box, Tyrell, maybe. In mine. And then we'll pour some in.
I think we got one right over here. He's gonna come.
Okay, that'll work.
Ooh, looks like we have the.
Measure the second.
Okay, I don't know why you didn't fill it more. I don't either.
All right, here we go.
Okay, you hang on.
That part of the video
really
is gonna be a
tightly.
little.
Yes.
Got it on
We
tape,
do things
didn't you?
different.
I went
see
down.
that. So 500 would be to the top, right? Just the 500?
Yeah.
Looks like it.
16.9.
Okay,
yeah.
we're really close. We're really close. Okay, we need a timer.
I got here just in time.
Who can time for us?
I got it.
I'm going to cheat a little bit,
Tell me when.
and I'm going to run the water on top of this leaf. I'll put that on the bottom and pull it out then. Then I don't have to worry about it slaking shut. Okay?
Tell me when.
Okay, go. Okay. Now, I'll take that bottle.
Yeah, you
Yep.
got plenty.
Yep. Okay. So what was one of the observances? Some of you may have noticed that first one went in a lot easier when I pounded it in. Didn't take me long. This one had a little more firm. That's why I got somebody young with muscles, because I don't have any of that anymore. And notice he put a little effort into it because it had a certain. It was resisting a little bit, right? And so now, how you doing on the second inch? 222. What was the first one again? 245. Then it went to 222. Okay, those are both excellent, right? Those are both excellent. So if you got an inch of rain in Kansas, how quick is that going to come? Is it going to be more than 222 minutes?
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
We came about as close to that on Friday,
Yeah,
and that wasn't in 2 minutes. So
Right.
so
Right. So in other words, that's a good infiltration, right? That's a good infiltration, right? And how much did we pay to find that out? You know, because we can use what we have, right? So now we're going to have maybe a little different situation where we're going to slow up a little bit. What was the first one again? First inch? 245. Okay, and what are we at here? Tyrell, what do you got?
138.
138. Okay, so we got a minute and a half. We got a minute and a half, and we have quite a bit of water in there. So we're slowing up. Why? You can get some more
Residue.
There's not as much pore space because it's more compacted.
Yeah, and why isn't there more pore space?
I guess there's nothing. There's no root system to create those aggregates like.
Okay, when
said,
you
right?
look on the surface here and you go
Oh,
back to that.
cover. Yeah.
Ah, and what's in the cover? Carbon. What else does it do? It shades your soil temp, keeps it cooler. The biology's happier. It builds aggregates better. Okay, but there's carbon in the cover as well. Most of that carbon in the surface residue will go to the atmosphere. Most of it, but some of it's going into the soil as a food supply as well. So you start to see it in the infiltration. Hey, you want to go get those chairs, and then we'll all sit down here. Bring that shade over here. No, it's not going to be that long. But if you're, say,
We're almost at 3.
so I've had them go for hours. Where I just, after a certain point, you're out of coffee, your thermos is empty, and you got to get to another site. You just call it, and you state the situation. But we're cracking the ground. Yeah. See, and the 2 inches would help. The second inch would help take care of a lot of that. So the first inch, but I would, I looked until I found one that didn't have a large crack, because that's a distortion again. Yeah. I'm all about cheating in the right situation, but not that one. Okay.
What would you expect to see as far as one in the row compared to between the rows?
So if you want to grab that one, we can find out.
The other ring, you mean?
Yeah,
Or what-
yeah. It's wherever you want to go. Like I said, if I was doing this and it's actually working with that person,
Yeah.
I'm going to do them in the row and between the rows.
But I just
both.
mean, in
Usually
your,
it's a little bit better.
Is it?
But not always. Usually, but not always. Yeah. It's a good question. It's a good question. Okay, we got to give him a little time yet. I'm going to pop this one out, okay? And I'll bring it over here. I'll bring it over to you.
No, but the 3 shovels are the ones that compare the edge, which is of what they on average.
Does it get a little better than
Yeah, yes, it will. Maybe. No, it's just this part right through here.
Oh, yeah? Oh, you're not too far from it. Yeah, I guess.
No, okay, I lost track of where my canister is.
Right here.
Okay.
What's the time, Tyrone?
I would stop at 30.
That's wrong.
Did you? Yeah.
I just tried to write it.
Did you? Oh, it was great. I loved it.
It's dry. We're going to get some rain this week.
I didn't. I went and called it closer. I got the position for the soil technician. So, KD, so training position there. So that's what I'm doing right now. So.
yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a good program.
What are you
Still
going
the
to
same as some younger
Ag
guy
management?
that
Yeah,
owns it?
that's what I wanted
He
to do.
moved.
It was
Oh,
great.
really?
So another guy, local, took it over.
Okay. Is it still, do you think it's kind of maintaining
I did
that
while I was
level
there.
of
I got
quality? It was really good food and drink.
Yeah, they've added a bunch of different stuff,
Good.
drinks and specials. And,
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good.
Going trips and stuff like that. It was,
Yep, it's doing good.
you talked to Amy then?
So now you can, we're not done yet, but you can start to see the second inch is going to slow you down here. That second inch is going to be a little tougher. We're not done with the first one yet, so you start to see there's a huge difference on your infiltration. And obviously, we're not doing 5 at each site; we're just doing 1 at each site. But you can see it's starting to tell you a story.
do you average those? I forget what you said.
With the 5, I throw out the high and the low, and I average the remaining 3.
After you take both times and
The
average.
second
time's
time
when you
only.
go. Okay.
Second time only. Yep, that's the relevant one.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're probably not going to have time for another rain.
No.
So,
We're gonna just have to call this
yeah,
one.
okay.
So let's wrap this up on this item, folks, with just a couple comments here. So if you want to build this infiltration, what's it going to take? Can you understand the importance of the residue on the surface? It's a huge item. It's a huge item. And your heat calories are way more than ours, and it's a big item for us.
I think our trans evaporation is like 70. Yeah, 70 inches is what our trans evaporation is.
Yeah.
So
Say that again, Terrell.
I think our trans evaporation rate is 70 inches here. Somewhere between 60 and 80 is if you look on a map.
Can you explain that metric? Like how is? I mean, I'm just like, what does 70 evapotranspiration mean? That's kind of
70
what I'm
inches.
trying-
70 inches.
70
Oh,
inches.
okay,
70
okay,
inches.
okay.
70 inches.
Of water evaporating
Yeah.
for a calendar year.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
now I get it.
Yep.
Thank
Is the
you.
way I.
Yeah.
That's
That-
how I
that-
listen to you.
Right, yeah.
See, because I was paying
Gotcha.
attention.
Yeah, because what is yours, 40? 30 or
less
40?
than 70.
Yeah, so, because,
Even any with humidity in north, you know.
See, and then too, sunlight. We're 40, I looked at it this morning, we're about 44 minutes a day longer sunlight. Okay? And so, but our season is shorter than yours. Your season's longer, but your days are shorter. So as you go north, the days get longer. Okay? And so we're much, and most of that change, that 40 some inches, most of that is in the evening.
Right.
The majority of it. Yeah.
so last, you can attest to this. This whole field had pretty good residue cover on it this spring. It was cover crop last year after wheat that we grazed with sheep. He wanted to put a cover crop out here, and so we grazed it. His normal rotation is wheat, double crop milo, full season milo, beans, back to wheat. So he replaced the double crop milo and went with cover crops. and I didn't put too high of carbon because we already had the wheat stubble, so we didn't want to overload the system. So I tried to have a fine balance between low carbon and high carbon crops. But if you get out there, there's not much residue left. It's disappeared.
So the first soil health principle for me is armor, is protection. So you start with that one, because when you start with that one, you start to stabilize the field. You know, it fosters life with the biology, moderates the temperatures, wind and water erosion, phosphorus transport on a clay colloid, which we have a lot of that. Our phosphorus moves huge distances and wind erosion, right? So the clay colloids, when you can see them in the air, the most nutrient-rich part of a field left earlier.
That's the scary part.
That's the scary part. And this phosphorus thing is expensive. And so we try to minimize that. We try to bring that down. Well, one of the things uncovered, okay, we're not getting anywhere, so I'm going to call this. We got water in the bottom yet. So we're going to call this. So it's not just infiltration. This is air exchange. This is biology movement in the soil. This is sequestering carbon. You want to sequester carbon? Try doing it with very few aggregates in the soil, very few pore spaces. Doesn't work very well. And so you bring this to the attention, and you start making it a priority. So I'm going to pop the canister because then we can take a look and see the bottom, but I don't know if I can get my spade
What
in the
was the
ground.
time at?
What's the
It
time?
was after 5 when I shut it off.
So when there was residue out here,
So this spot right here where we're at it runs the whole length of the field, but it is the worst spot of the field. I pulled 3 shovels over there. You'll see over there in between the pickup. The red shovel is more representative of what the entire field looks like.
Okay.
The middle one is what this spot looks like, and then the end one is what right there looks like. It is so good partly because he gets residue from his neighbors every fall. Corn stalks blow over, and it was to the line. You could see, like, I have a picture of radish that was probably that long by that fat, and only over there did we have it, but it's because from the extra carbon.
So even just taking what Tyrell says and doing an infiltration in that first 25 feet or whatever, and then coming into the main field, just the difference lets you know what a huge thing residue on the soil surface is. These soils aren't meant to function in bare. We as humans kind of like that. Some of you know who Dwayne Beck is at Pierre, South Dakota, and Dwayne always said to me, we frack a soil for the same reason North Dakota fracks an oil well. So when you till a soil, you frack it. And when you frack an oil well, it's to increase the oil production, right? It increases, gives off more oil. When you frack a soil, you're giving off more nutrient until the day comes when there's nothing left to give you. Okay? So that's the opposite of sequestering, right? And so when you have bare soils, there's no tie-up of nutrient, right? Everything goes to the plant, right? No tie-up. But it comes at a price. And we've done that for a long time. And now we're trying to build these soils back. You know, we talked some really nice terms, regeneration and all these. They're really, very nice terms. But they don't happen without a change. They just don't. And so we start looking at how do we bring these principles onto a field, any field. And then you start looking at scenarios like this, and then you start to understand, well, yeah, maybe there is a difference where I did and didn't have residue on the surface. Maybe there is a difference. And you can also sieve these soils and look at stable aggregates, hopefully tomorrow or whenever we get that done. And then you can also do the infiltration, you can do the Solvita, you can do all these things and you find your way. And then you're more willing to make the change. You know, you saw it.
I don't know if the producers here can feel, but don't get caught up because I'm sure you came off of a severe drought last year. You're still in a D2 right now, you know, and if you look at what you got growing, I mean, it's still pretty impressive for being in a D2.
Oh,
drought,
I'd take
sure
the
you
field.
came off of a
I'd take this
D3,
field.
you know, yeah.
Yeah, I'd take this field. Absolutely.
But sometimes infiltration rates and soil aggregation, well, like we saw yesterday at a field day, when you come off a drought, you kind of get some weird results sometimes, you know, and so, you just take it with a grain of salt. Keep going out, checking, looking.
Well, when it's dry, all soil function slows down.
Yep.
All soil function slows down. And then when you get moisture, you know, it's what drives dynamic soil properties. So you got to have water to do that, right? So this kind of lets you know what's going on. And as you get drier, I think you'd find a little strip over here that would go much further into a drought than where we're standing. Don't get me wrong, I'll take the whole field if nobody wants it. So we start looking at this is in the bottom. This is what we're trying to penetrate with the water. So you can kind of see we're not, we got a little ways to go. So, but it's an indication. It's a way of looking at it.
Is there ever a time when it would be good to plow down a crop to get green manure?
So the plow down would probably increase the green manure impact in the soil at the price of the CO2 that would be leaving from the fracking of it. So you're going to end up with no cover, right? So you got a little bit more green material buried in the soil, but you have no cover, and then you lost from the CO2 distribution, because the big guys eat the little guys when you till and you get the CO2 burst. That's a lot of the big guys eating the little guys because they can get at them now, because when you tilled it you made more food available, and then you get this CO2 burst to the atmosphere. So just from what I've seen, it's hard to fix a problem in farming with the same tool that created it. It's hard to do. It's always, everything's a trade-off. It all comes at a price. Yeah. I think we're good here. Any questions on infiltration or something you can do at home? Right? Take a look. Obviously, you don't have to spend a lot of money. And if you don't have a 6-inch, you can do any size. Just do the math, right, for your water amount to get an inch. Yeah. Okay.